let's go right into the main topic.
I can't. So what I just showed Mark was a meme that LaQ Stanfield posted, and it says, and it's a guy standing with somebody in a Grim Reaper costume next to him, and it says, "You told her on your life you wasn't effing with other bees. Let's roll N-word." And it makes me laugh, because it's a lesson to the stop lying.
That's fine.
Because the Grim Reaper may pull up and be like, "Well, you said on your life, and we're here now." So
that's fine. All right. Main topic.
Yes.
So this topic,
lead us in, Mark, because you came up with this one.
The topic is basically bigots and people who do certain things make us support things we wouldn't usually support, and people who people who don't understand the whole picture, people who go too hard on one side, force me and Kristin and some other people sometimes to support things we wouldn't usually support. I go from on the low end and I go from on the high end, right? On the low end, I remember when the song "I Love God" come out, right?
By Mary, I was gonna say Mary. What that lady named Erica Campbell.
I Love God, right? And the song came out, and I was kind of like, meh. And because in my mind, I'm like, it's like Mary J. Blige doing a song, like a trap song. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that, right?
Right.
But then there was like mad backlash from like the church community saying like, what? She can't do that. She's not being holy, trying to do that music and everything. And now it forces me to now support the song because I'm like, that's not why. I just don't like the song.
Right.
But now I have to support the song because I think you should have the ability to sing however what you want to sing, even if it's bad, but you should still be able to do it.
Right. Because I'm like, I didn't really like the song either. I was like, Erica, what is you doing? Like, this is not, and I don't know this lady, so I shouldn't even fix my mouth to say this is not you, because I don't know her as a person. But I kind of was like, this is not, I guess it wasn't on brand for what I knew her as Mary. And maybe she wanted to do something different to separate herself from being Mary and kind of solidify herself as her own artist. And I'm like, her husband's he produced for everybody, so why can't she get some fire too? Who are me to hate? But I was initially kind of like, I don't know about this, Miss Erica. I don't know. But then when she put it out and people were like, Mark said, she's not a Christian, she's not holy, I was like, you know what, this is my new jam.
Yeah,
this is my new jam.
Now I have to.
Now Erica gonna get a check for my streams, because why do we have to go so far as to attack her whole faith just because she did a song that was trap? Like, I want to understand why the gospel people are so committed to feeling like everybody needs to sound like the Clark sisters and Albertina Walker. It's the 21st century. Not everybody's receiving music or receiving gospel music in that way. Yeah. I love a Clark sisters. I love Andre Crouch, Donald Lawrence. I like that kind of music, but that doesn't mean that everyone else does. And if there are other ways that people can get music out, I think somebody out here weed whacking or something. But if that's the way that, people receive the message from the music, why not encourage them to do that? Like, I don't see what the problem is with I Love God. Like, I don't get it. Oh, because, it makes you think about, it's like, all right, well then don't listen to it. But don't say the lady not a Christian, or she don't really love God, or she don't really... Yeah. Like, don't do that.
You could just not like it.
You could just not like it. That's fine. Like, people didn't like Kirk Franklin's music, and people think we forgot. But I remember when Kirk Franklin was putting his music out, and people was like, he's doing all that hippity hop, and he's bringing the secular world into the gospel world. But
lo and behold, now everybody's like, oh, he's the greatest.
Yeah, I'm like,
y'all not like him.
Y'all are some new brand acting Negroes. Kirk didn't forget, and neither did we. Because that's what made me like Stomp and Revolution even more. Because the church I grew up in, they was not here for none of that Kirk Franklin. I remember one time we was doing choir rehearsal, and our choir director played a Kirk Franklin song, and I remember the older people in that church was like, "What is that?" And I think she tried to have us sing one of the songs one time, and it was like, I think the only Kirk Franklin song we were ever allowed to sing was that "Lean on Me" song. But any other time, because our choir director was like a younger person, and she was into the more contemporary music at that time, and they was not having none of that uppity Kirk Franklin. All we could do was lean on me because it was slow.
Yeah.
And, you know, it sounded more in line with the kind of music that we did in that church. But they was not trying to hear no, do you want a revolution, whoop, whoop. They wasn't having none of it.
You're like, don't whoop in this church. How dare you?
We don't whoop here.
How dare you?
And that made me like those songs even more. So I guess I've been choosing violence my whole life. I feel the same way with Lil Nas X.
Yeah.
People hated Old Town Road and called it corny. And I was like, I stand.
Yeah, like in the beginning, I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? What is this outfit? What is all this?
But then they tried to be like, no, it doesn't deserve to be country. I'm like, now you're playing it all the time.
Yeah, now Lil Nas X is getting the streams. And he was like #1 for like a few weeks and like got nominated for a few months and got nominated for a Grammy. Like,
I was like, no, you're going to play this song now.
Right. Lil Nas X going to get a coin off my stream. I'm sorry. Because you know what?
You're playing games.
Who are you to tell black people who made country that a song's not country because it's a black person doing it?
So it's like,
and then when Billy Ray Cyrus jumped on it, I was like, yes, it's country. In case y'all were wondering, it's country. And to this day, Old Town Road and the remix slap. To this day. Sorry. Yeah. They're going to be jams for me. I'm going to be playing them at my barbecues when I'm older because it's a jam. And y'all was hating on the Good Boy. And I didn't like it. Even with his new song, the Call Me By Your Name. Montero, they're forcing me to support this song. Because I was like, the song sonically is okay. I don't hate it. It's definitely less annoying than I found Old Town Road to be. But I just was like, yeah. But now they're forcing me to like the song because they have told this boy he's a demon that's going to hell. And I think he kind of did that when he slid down the stripper pole to hell. I think he understands that that's what y'all think, that he's going to hell.
He like the whole point of the whole thing is because like it's crazy when like stuff like this happens. No one looks internally.
No.
I'm like, why does he act this way? He does that because of basically churches have just told him he's going to hell ever since he came out. Right. So he was like, oh, y'all don't want me?
And he said even before he ever came out and he was a kid going to church, like that was the messaging he received, that he was going to hell. And so he kind of says it at the beginning of the song in the video before it plays. He kind of says, you know, basically he read a letter to himself that he wrote when he was like 13 or 14. Like basically, I'll never let this thing about me come out because I know it's going to be received XYZ way. And you can feel however you want to feel about LGBT people, issues, whatever you want to think. But it's like, I can't imagine being that young and knowing something like that about myself and having people tell me I'm going to hell because of something I feel like I can't control. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that messaging as a 13 or 14-year-old. That would be kind of self-crushing. And so, you know, if that's how that man want to be, if that's how that man lived, like we got to stop saying that people going to hell. We don't know. We don't even know if hell is real. Let's start there. We don't. Because there's so many things that we're now discovering that are like on the lowest of keys made up by people. And so it's like, you know, like Joe Budden likes to play on his podcast, what is the truth and what is a lie? Like, at this point, it's like, who really knows? Because it's like so many things have been distorted and misconstrued and changed up to be made to mean XYZ when it really doesn't mean that. If you look at the original translation, blah. So there's a lot of stuff that's like gray area in terms of certain belief systems that we have. And so I kind of feel like stop condemning people to where you think they should be. Like, you don't know anything about anything. You're not God. You don't know how Lil Nas X or anybody else lives their life, and you don't know the heart of anybody. Yes, you don't know anybody's heart. So just relax. That's the as the little girl in the video said. Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Like that's a major life key. But now because of all this, and apparently I want to say this too. I guess people have been protesting the Lil Nas X song, and so people were having like it was starting to like be hard to find on streaming platforms. And so I saw him post earlier this week that he was going to stream it on Pornhub. I'm like, huh? But I guess, you know, people be on there, so you got to get your stream somehow. I'm like, but what are people so upset about that it's come to where streaming platforms are feeling like
they did the same thing with what? So
with and I'm like, what is the big deal? What is the big deal? Yeah, like when people, anytime someone goes too far, it forces me to support it. Come like, people have the freedom, and I think when people start trying to take away someone's freedom, I'm always like, no, I guess no, you got to support it now. But now you're trying to
cast something on somebody's character,
right?
Because of and I think that's when it comes down to it. Like because sometimes you can have valid points, but because of who is attached to and what it's attached to,
right?
Like we talked about last week with the whole thing with Little Mama. Was her name Little Mama? I did it.
No, yeah, we talked about Little Mama.
Yeah, and then like she might have valid points to make about like she might have felt like harassed by people based off of like how she felt about certain things, but how you approach it makes me feel like now I can't support what you're saying,
right?
Because you went too far.
Yeah, like you took it too far. Now it's coming across very like hateful.
Correct, because you take it too far. So now, like, even if you have valid points, I can't now support your point because of what it's attached to.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like how what they did with like politics a lot was like. They'll say a bunch of crazy stuff, and then they'll say one thing, like, "Oh, but don't you support just one thing?" Like, yes, I support just one thing, but everything else attached to it, nah.
Yeah.
So now I can't support it,
right?
Because you attach all this other stuff to it.
Yeah, yeah.
That I think that's how Trump got people in the first place, because he would like say a bunch of crazy stuff, but he was like, "Yeah, but don't you want this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want this," but everything else comes with it. Like everything else comes with it.
Yeah, like I think
it's not just one thing.
Yeah, like I think we can all agree that national security is important. Every nation in this world is concerned about being safe and keeping their people safe. Yeah. So I'm like, as a general principle, I'm in support of national security and safety. But when you're throwing in the Mexicans are rapists and robbers, and
it's a different conversation.
The Muslims bring drugs here, or whatever other storyline you're trying to. It's hard for me to get on board with the initial point.
I can't just like
I'm like, nah.
Your point has some other things attached to it,
right? Like
I can't. I'm not going to just leave it by itself.
No,
because that's attached to it.
Yeah,
it comes with it.
Yeah, it's a package deal, and I don't want that package. Because this part is okay. I can agree with you and see the point on this part, but the rest of this is just. It's too much. Yeah, it's too much happening.
So it's just a lot of crazy things. I think we like I think biggest have forced people to like support things they don't really want to support. Yeah, because it's like you just go too far.
Yeah, like it's over the top. It's over the top. Like and it's unnecessary. Like. If you don't like something, if you don't support something, if you don't just, like Lecrae said it best, if you don't like something, if you don't support something, if you don't agree with something, just move on. You don't have to make a statement. You don't have to do anything. You can just move on. Just do that. Just ignore it. Just pretend like it's not happening and keep it pushing. Like he was talking about it in response to the Lil Nas X thing. Like the shoes were a lot. I will never buy them. I'm cool on the whole thing.
You can also just not buy it.
Yeah, that's my choice. I have the choice.
Just not buy it.
I have the choice to say that's for someone. The someone's not me, and I can move on with my life. But because y'all are over here, like, call him everything but a child of God, I'm like, you know what? I do hope he gets some sales. I do hope someone buys those shoes. Like,
because you're doing too much.
You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Like, I don't know what to say.
Because and this is the point. Because the lesson you keep talking about, he's not getting that lesson.
Right.
He's just getting the hate. Right. Because he's been like, and like, what message are you trying to tell him? Because what you're trying to tell him is not what he's hearing. Because of how it's coming off. Exactly. So like so what you're doing is not helpful. So
not at all.
So like you're not being helpful at all.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. And, it kind of ties into the thing I read from Your Favorite Heretics today. And it's like, a lot of basically it's an Instagram account Mark and I talked about on the podcast before. Your Favorite Heretics. It's two people who were like formerly in the evangelical church sphere who are now, out of it. And, they talk about, a lot of the church traumas and things that they've experienced and, just kind of unlearning the trauma of being in those situations. And one of the things they posted today was, if you got to preface something with, I'm saying this in love or I'm saying this out of love, it's not about love at all. It's about you being right. And I'm like, yeah, that hits, because a lot of the judgment that was passed on, like even Erica, when she wore that white dress, she was styled in a white dress and it was like up to the neck, long sleeved, covering her knees. The only thing you could really see was her shins and her feet, which were in shoes. And the gospel community called her everything but a child of God because the dress was form fitting. And it's like, but she has a form. And if we're fearfully and wonderfully made, why can't she wear a dress where you see that form? She got a whole husband. She got about 3 kids by the man. Like, she's not soliciting anything. She's not selling sex. She's not doing anything. Like, she's just wearing a dress with some good hair and makeup and a shoe. But the way people vilified her, I was just kind of like, I didn't even like her like that, but they made me an Erica Campbell fan because of it.
Yeah, because
vocally, I actually prefer Tina in the group, but I'm like, you know what? I fools with Erica now. I'll go see her where she at.
And like,
because y'all call that lady everything a child of God and tried to tell her that your critique of her clothing as an adult woman is in love. And that's my other thing too. It's like, y'all stay talking to adult people about things that they're doing. It's like, huh?
Correct. And the big issue is, and this is why I say, like, y'all saying things tone deaf to what's going on.
Yeah.
You're tone deaf to how the Christian community treat women, and how you're always doing that. So like that plays into it. So you saying something plays into that.
Yep.
You keep trying to, you can't talk in isolated incidents with things that are structurally ingrained into it. Things that are structurally ingrained. Like, you can't just talk about, I'm talking about this isolated incident. No, it doesn't come off as an isolated incident, because things have happened over centuries of how you treat women. So that is how you approach it. And you have to understand, like, you can't just voice your opinion in an isolated incident with a global problem.
Agreed.
Because it's a global problem that's been happening. So they're not listening to it in the ears of an isolated incident. They're listening to it in the terms of how we have been treated for years. Right?
Yeah.
And like you have to stop doing it. And that's the reason why, like, I don't argue with people about racial things. No. Because like they'll try to argue me about an isolated incident. Like, talking about a global thing. Like when you talk about things with Black Lives Matter thing. Yeah. Like they'll argue down about semantics about isolated things. I'm like, yeah, but look at this one situation. Great, that one situation. Is there a problem though? Yes, there's a problem. Right. Right. You keep trying to pinpoint. You're trying to nitpick isolated incidents, and it's never going to solve the problem. We have the feeling because of years of an issue. You keep trying to nitpick isolated incidents, and not put them as a whole together. It's gonna be a problem. We've been screaming about this for centuries. Agreed. So you're gonna nitpick this one thing.
But this one unimportant thing. It's like you're just willfully trying not to see the point.
You can't nitpick every single time. Yeah. It's been an issue for centuries. Yeah. It's never been solved.
Yeah. But people swear they have the answers. How, Sway? How? Shouts to Kanye.
So like you can't keep isolating the incident just to and that's kind of what the problem is.
Agreed.
Anything else on this topic?
No, that was it for me. Stop making me support things that I wouldn't ordinarily support because y'all want to be ignorant. Thanks. Appreciate y'all. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. All right. Thank you so much. You're far too kind. Let us move on now to our artist spotlight.